Hello and welcome to The Radical. I'm Christina.
And I'm Nicole. On our podcast, we delve into the roots of metaphysical wisdom.
That's right, Nicole. Our podcast is all about exploring those fundamental truths and practices that nourish your mind, body, and spirit.
Yes, Christina, we want to make metaphysical concepts easy to understand and accessible, especially for those who don't have a ton of time to do all the research.
Right? We'll do the research as well as share our experiences and perspectives, hoping to empower you, our listener, to find balance and magic in your day-to-day.
Inspired by the essence of the word radical, proceeding from the root, let's explore the roots of well-being and self-healing together.
This is The Radical with Christina and Nicole, two metaphysical girls in the material world. Hello, listeners. Welcome to the Radical Podcast. This is Christina.
And I'm Nicole.
Today, we're on episode 0042. 42 episodes, Nicole. This one we're talking about, it's our first book report.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the 7 spiritual laws of success.
I liked when you called it, I think you called it a radical report.
I was like, we're going to give you the Cliff Notes version. I don't even know if Cliff Notes are still a thing. That was when we actually had paper books that you would buy that would give you the summary. Now you could just read the summary online. But I was like, it's going to be like the Radical Notes on
that was it.
The 7 spiritual laws of success. It's a fantastic little book that I needed to reread exactly when I reread it.
I read this in 2017 for the first time. And at the end of each chapter, at the end of each law of success, it's 3 blurbs summarizing how to put it into action. And I had folded down the page for the start of each of those. And I have my book sitting on my desk, and I've only done it one morning so far since reading the book again last week, but it's my intention in the morning to read the 3 action steps for one of the laws to try to integrate the laws and the principles into my life more, because they're
fantastic.
Yeah.
This is everything that you and I have been talking about in this podcast, Nicole, about changing your mind and the metaphysical reality of creating the world we want to live in. And this basically tells us how to do that. This is another one of those books. It's like the 4 Agreement. This is one of those books that breaks it down and then gives you like a step-by-step process of doing it. I have got a copy here in my house. It was in my bookshelf, and I have no memory of reading it, but I did because I underline in pencil keynotes. And when I was reading it this morning, there was pencil all over it. So I'm like, I read it at some point. It was new to me when I read it this morning, when I reread it.
I had things underlined too, but reading it a second time, I didn't do any underlining, but I would have underlined a bunch of different things.
I want to talk a little bit about, for segment 1, my list is tiny. The 7 spiritual laws of success, a practical guide to the fulfillment of your dreams. That's the title of this book. It was published in 1994. I would not have guessed that. I would have thought it was a little more recent because it's new to me in my yoga journey. But this book has been around. Deepak Chopra, I almost said it wrong. Deepak Chopra, well-known author. He's got all kinds of resources and websites and YouTube channels. He works in the fields of holistic health and human potential. He's written many books. Amazing. The original publisher was New World Library. And it was on the top 10 list in 1995 for the New York Times top 10 book list. A quick little summary of this book. I mean, like, even more summary than what we're about to get into. But this is inspired by Hinduist and spiritualistic concepts and even quantum physics. And it is all about explaining the ideas that personal success is not the outcome of hard work, precise planning, or driving ambition. Doesn't that go against everything the patriarchy tells us?
Mm-hmm.
This book gives us the message that it's based on understanding our basic nature as human beings and how to follow the laws of natures. That's the core message. True success is not solely achieved through hard work and ambition, but rather by understanding and aligning with the 7 spiritual laws of nature. How's that for a yin and a yang?
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, as I was reading this and typing my notes, there's this prevalent repeating theme of yin versus
Mm-hmm.
yang.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's very clear that the laws of nature are the yin, and we need more yin, less yang.
Mm-hmm. We need more. We need more flow. More
Mm-hmm.
flow. So I found a free copy to read, at least one, from wordpress.com. It was free. You just clicked on it, boom, and then it was available to me. And then at least 2 free with ads. Audio, full audio versions of this book for free on YouTube. So before, and I'm sure they have it in libraries and secondhand bookshops or anything, but I mean, it's been around for a while and it is free to access. I found it without too much looking around. Essentially, I found a free version to read and then free versions to listen to. So go out and find it, listeners. It is amazing. And we're going to break down the 7 laws.
This book, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, is based on another one of Deepak Chopra's books, Creating Affluence, Wealth Consciousness in the Field of All Possibilities. So I looked up affluence, and it means an abundant flow. And I was immediately transported back to our tax day podcast where we talked about financial currency and monies flowing, giving and receiving, and the meaning of prosperity. And then also from the title of his other work, The Field of All Possibilities. This is also called the state of pure potential, the unmanifest, infinite creativity. Taoism refers to this as the Tao, the formless origin of all things. In Hindu philosophy, this is called the Brahman, the foundation, the source, and the goal of all existence, our essential nature. And this definition of success comes from the first law. True success is the unfolding of the divinity within us. I love that. It has nothing to do with money. True success, the unfolding of the divinity within us. So the first law is the law of pure potentiality. This law tells us that the source of all creation is pure consciousness, and that pure potentiality is seeking expression from the unmanifest to the manifest. So I read this as things in our universe want to become real and tangible. And our essential nature as humans is a state of self with a capital S, and that self is in union with source. And I think of this when I'm out in nature, it's that feeling of deep connection and bliss is like that union with source. And according to the law of pure potentiality, that is our essential nature. That is the goal of our existence. And according to the first law, having that state of being is our true source of power. In the book, this is called self-referral.
Mm-hmm.
And it stated that self-referral is the source of true power because it's aligned with source instead of being aligned with our individual ego.
Mm-hmm.
When we're in a state of self-referral or unity with source, we magnetize, which makes me think of the laws of attraction and assumption.
Yeah.
And we can cultivate this experience of being in union, in unity with source by meditating, practicing quiet time, quiet reflection,
Mm-hmm.
and feeling into your contact, that conscious contact with your higher power, your source, the universe. And I love these descriptions of source and the universe and pure potentiality as the field of infinite organizing power.
Mm. I love to
And
organize.
but isn't that so cool that like there's this force field out there that has infinite organizing power and will like work on your behalf?
Yeah.
The field can orchestrate an infinity of details for you. We just have to quiet our ego and our thinking mind enough to come into contact with source within us and let it help us because it has infinite organizing power. And the things that we want are seeking expression from the
Mm-hmm.
unmanifest to the manifest. And that is the gist of the law of pure potentiality.
What jumped out at me in this chapter, and you mentioned self-referral, but the opposite of that is object referral. And in the book, he says object referral were always influenced by objects outside the self, self with the capital S. And that's our situations, circumstances, people, and things. And the other thing with object referral is we're always constantly seeking approval from others. That is where the ego lives.
Mm-hmm.
That is where I find myself struggling with the law of pure potentiality because we live in this world, in this culture, and I find myself attaching value to objects and object referral because that's my ego, because it's things, right? And we have to look so far through that and past that to the self. So, you listeners, you may hear that object referral and self referral, and that's from this book. So, if that has got your interest, go read that chapter, chapter 1. Okay, the second law, the law of giving. Affluence, the root word, affluere, it means to flow. Currency, the root word is oh my gosh, I don't even know if I can say it. The
Career.
root career, to run or flow. That is the law of giving. He says in the book, in our willingness to give that which we seek, we keep the abundance of the universe circulating in our lives. Giving is the same as receiving, okay? Because they're different aspects of that flow of energy. Up and down, left and right. You can't have light without dark. You can't give without receiving. They're the aspects of the flow. And he says in this book, which I think is made me pause, you know, when you're reading and you pause and you have to read it again, is the easiest way to get what you want is to help others get what they want.
It's so counterintuitive.
Mm.
And I think it's also, does it make sense to say like countercultural? Like, that's not at all what our culture says. You know, we need to look out for ourselves, make sure we have enough.
Scarcity, what is it called? Uh, they
Like scarcity mindset.
Yes, that is an active information dissemination by the powers that be, that there's not enough to go around. So you cannot share and you cannot assist. Scarcity mindset is a tool of the patriarchy.
Yeah, and I think capitalism and consumerism keep building your stockpile of things. I love in this chapter, it says giving engenders receiving, and receiving engenders giving. And if you stop either, you interfere with nature's intelligence. He goes on to say, if you want to be blessed with all the good things in life, learn to silently bless everyone with all the good things in life.
That's it.
And, I think this is such a beautifully written sentence because everyone can do this. Learn to silently bless everyone with good things. That means when you are at the red light, you can bless the people in the cars around you. Or when you're waiting in line at the grocery store to check out, you can do the same thing. It's not a show. It's not necessarily an action. I mean, there's really no excuse as to why you can't do this.
Yeah. Because it's not about objects, it's about the capital S self. So it's not things, it's energy, it's actions, and it's the intention behind your giving and receiving that's the most important. Don't give with a grudge. Don't be angry when you pay your bills. We've got to keep the flow of this currency and this affluence coming from a place of gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. We have to reframe it into unconditional love from the heart. I said this in probably our tax day. I was like, if you're writing your electricity bill, say how grateful you are that you have light to study, and your home is warm in the winter and cool in the summer, and that you can cook food. Like, there's ways to reframe our thinking about these types of things. One of the steps at the end of the chapter, there's again the 3 steps of applying the law of giving, and it's to start the circulation. Give flowers, give prayers, give attention, give affection, give appreciation, just saying thank you, silent blessings. The second step, be grateful for everything that you receive. And the third step is make a commitment to keep wealth circulating by giving and receiving. Keep it circulating. Start the flow.
And I just want to say one more thing about learn to silently bless. Silently is in the realm of what's yin, because yin is what is unseen. So this is very much calling on that yin essence in our giving and receiving. And receiving is very yin, but making the giving a yin action, even though it's a yang action. So I found a lot of meaning
Yes.
in that little sentence. The third law is the law of karma, also called the law of cause and effect. And this law teaches that every action generates a force of energy that returns to us in like kind. And this is from the book. He says, whether you like it or not, everything that is happening at this moment is a result of the choices you've made in the past, whether you like it or not. Unfortunately, a lot of us make choices unconsciously, and therefore we don't think they are choices, and yet they are. And back when I read this book in 2017, I was like, nah. But now I'm reading it and I'm like, oh yeah, it makes total sense. Of course.
Well, we did just record self-sabotage and self-limiting beliefs, which were as unconscious as they were conscious. That we do things without even thinking about why we're doing them, and that's the karma that we've been programmed to react to these situations in a way, and we don't even think we have a choice, but we do.
Yes, and the book explains basically that in these words. So the book says, most of us, even though we are infinite choice makers, have become bundles of conditioned reflexes that are constantly being triggered into predictable outcomes of behavior. So, an infinite choice maker, that stuck out to me this time. We are infinite choice makers because if we go back to the first law, our essential nature is our capital S self in a state of unity with source, which is pure potentiality. And then these bundles of conditioned reflexes is what neuroplasticity is based on. Our deep grooves of ingrained behavior. Well, neuroplasticity says we can change those deeply ingrained behaviors, those physical grooves in our brains, the literal bundles of conditioned reflexes that are constantly being triggered.
Mm-hmm.
We can change our minds, but all of that is precipitated by self-awareness. So when I read this in 2017 and I was like, no way. I did not have this self-awareness then that I do today. And this is like 8 years later. So it takes time to change our minds, and it takes a lot of, self-awareness. That's that first step. But I loved towards the end of the chapter, he says, the effects, if this is the law of cause and effect, the effects of our karma can be transmuted by asking ourselves, what is the universe trying to show me? Or how can I use this information to serve others? And I don't think we really ever stop having those learning opportunities where we can say, like, what's emerging here? Like, what is trying to get my attention? What is the universe trying to teach me right now? I had a conversation with my therapist literally this morning because I was triggered by a conversation I had with somebody and things that were said to me. And I went into that session saying, I don't know what the universe is trying to show me, but I think there's something. Can you help me? Can you help me see?
Mm-hmm.
Can you help me try to figure out what's going on? But that took me a really long time to get to that place where I could say to somebody hey, I feel called out and upset, but I still want to know how this is potentially benefiting my growth, instead of wanting to spend that hour just being angry and venting. It's like, okay, I am upset, I am triggered, I am these bundled of conditioned reflexes, but let's step beyond that and ask more questions.
And that's it. That's the process. In this chapter, when I was reading it, there's, again, what is it? Two things jumped out at me. I don't know if you remember this phrase, the spontaneous right action. I'm going to read from the book. There's only one choice out of the infinity of choices available in every second that will create happiness for you as well for those around you. And when you make that one choice, it will result in a form of behavior that is called the spontaneous right action. Spontaneous right action is the right action at the right moment. It's the right response to every situation that happens. It's the action that nourishes you and everyone else who is influenced by that action. But we just don't wake up and do that. This is kind of something that we have to start becoming aware of. And that's the cause and effect element, that he calls it spontaneous right action. But that's when we're aligned with our self referral, not ego and object referral. When we're truly asking ourselves the question that Nicole just said, how can I use this information to serve and teach others? That's when those spontaneous right actions become more available, more obvious.
Yes.
And the other thing in here, do you see that part where if you're making a decision that he says to listen to your body, because your body sends the message of comfort or of discomfort or comfort on the choice, that he was like, listen to your body and your body's reaction.
I did actually underline a bit of that. I wonder, are you going to read?
I did too.
Okay, you go first. I wonder if it's the same.
Is it about the heart?
Yes.
Okay, you read the part about the heart. I want to say this part because this is something that we have mentioned multiple times in a lot of our metaphysical podcasts, because that is the connection between the mind and the body, right? And at the moment you consciously make a choice, pay attention to your body and ask your body, if I make this choice, what happens? If your body sends a message of comfort, that's the right choice. If your body sends a message of discomfort, it's not the appropriate choice. And wherever you feel that, your solar plexus, your heart, your throat, your stomach, pay attention to how your body feels.
And shortly thereafter, he says the heart has a computing ability that is far more accurate and far more precise than anything within the limits of rational thought. And this, back in 1994, was maybe a metaphysical statement. But today, the Heart Math Institute has demonstrated that through scientific research and data using electrocardiogram.
Absolutely.
We do know that the heart has more, it's like 25 times the capacity of the brain and like the size of its electromagnetic field. So, I mean, there's definitely science coming out that backs that up.
This is what he says. The heart is intuitive. It's holistic. It's contextual. It's relational. It doesn't have a win-lose orientation. It taps into the cosmic computer, the field of pure potentiality, pure knowledge, and infinite organizing power, and takes it all into account. That's what he says about the heart. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I needed to read that today. All right. Law number 4. The law
I love this one.
Law of least effort. Whew. I had to wrap my head around this one. The gems of wisdom in this little chapter are amazing. Nature's intelligence functions with effortless ease, with carefreeness, harmony, and love. So as a blade of grass grows, as a bird flies, as a tree flowers, it is human nature to make our dreams manifest into physical form easily and effortlessly. That is our nature.
There's a quote from, not from this book, but it's nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. And in my Qigong course, I learned the phrase Wu Wei, and that translates to effortless effort or the right kind of effort. And in the book, he calls it the economy of effort. So it's this idea that making an effort in an effortless way is the least effort. It's the most efficient, carefree, and harmonious way to be, the way nature is.
This is an excellent chapter, readers. I'm not going to read the whole thing word for word, but this is another chapter I needed to read today. But essentially, it breaks it down into 3 concepts. The first one is acceptance. Your feelings to a situation or person are your feelings. They are not the fault of the person or the situation. We need to learn to accept things as they are. Responsibility. Responsibility means not blaming anyone or anything for your situation, including yourself. Don't blame anyone for your situation. You have the ability to choose your response to the situation as it is now. And the third, defenselessness. Stop fighting, stop resisting.
I think I wrote that in the margin. Stop fighting everything and everyone.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he says in the book, quoted, completely desist from defending your point of view. When you have no point to defend, you do not allow the birth of an argument. If you do this consistently, if you stop fighting and resisting, you will fully experience the present, which is a gift. So essentially, this is the law of least effort, is to get us and to keep us in the present moment. Acceptance for what things are, responsibility for where things are, and then the defenselessness of, not giving your energy away.
Right. Because then you're efforting, you're exerting this energy to defend your feelings or your point, or I'm right and you're wrong.
Yeah.
I love how he summed it up and said, when you have the exquisite combination of the three things Christina just talked about, acceptance, responsibility, and defenselessness, you will experience life flowing with effortless ease. That economy of effort, the Wu way. This is how nature's intelligence works. And again, very much a yin essence to it. He also says attention to the ego consumes the greatest amount of energy. So when you're trying to exert power, have control, force people to do it your way, when you're people pleasing, even all of these, and it's egocentric because you are kind of protecting that part of yourself because you don't want to be wrong or something like that. So attention to the ego consumes the greatest amount of energy. And when you can be in acceptance, defenselessness, or responsibility, you're more resilient. You actually end up with more energy for the things that matter.
Exactly.
And that's kind of how nature works. You know, if we look into nature, like the trees out there aren't like bossing each other around in a power struggle. They're just kind of doing their thing.
Yeah. So ease of effort. Go read that chapter, listeners. It's good. It'll get you thinking.
The fifth one is the law of attention, intention, desire. So in this chapter, it is said that the quantum field is just another label for the field of pure consciousness or pure potentiality. And this quantum field is influenced by intention and desire. And then he goes on a couple pages later to explain that our bodies are not separate from the body of the universe, because at the quantum mechanical level, there are no well-defined edges. So we are like a localized disturbance in the larger quantum field. The universe is your extended body. And because we can change our own quantum mechanical body, we can therefore, by extension, change our extended universal body, aka what happens out in the universe. And that's the idea behind manifestation. That's how we can cause things to manifest in our reality. And I love how he explained how our intentions and desires have a quantum impact. And that's how this law works. It is metaphysical, but it's also scientific. I can understand
Yeah.
that. And you've mentioned a couple things that you needed to read in this book. This next one was like, whoa. So, towards the end of the chapter, it says, you can still get results through effort and through trying, but at a cost. The cost is stress, heart attacks, and the compromised function of your immune system. And I have had multiple conversations lately that basically, in summary, the patriarchy is making us sick.
Yeah. I've read that a few times.
Yes, too much yang, an over reliance on the yang. So, and I want to be really clear about that, because the masculine principle and those characteristics are perfectly fine. It's when there's too much yang, when there's toxic masculinity, when there's patriarchy. That's what I'm saying is making us sick. When we do not incorporate the yin principle, which really the yin principles in this book are lining up with nature, with stillness, with silence, with
Ease
trusting
of
in the ease of effort. Yes, the unseen, that infinite organizing power of intention to orchestrate all the details for you. Like, we don't have to do it all by ourselves. And I think we talked about that in the Invoking Source podcast, is like, we can ask Source or pure potentiality for help. We don't have to struggle in our thinking minds, in our egos, like, how am I going to do this? You have this infinite organizing power ready to help you. You just have to ask and use these laws and have your intentions and desires. Otherwise, if we are trying to figure it out all by ourselves, the cost is stress, heart attacks, and a compromised immune system.
I know. From this one, the law of intention and desire, I underlined in the book, attention energizes and intention transforms. Whatever you put your attention on will grow stronger in your life. Whatever you take your attention away from will wither, disintegrate, and disappear. Intention, on the other hand, triggers transformation of energy and information. Intention organizes its own fulfillment.
Yeah.
That's so powerful. That's so powerful. And that's attention. That's what we're looking at, what we're listening to, what we're reading. We have the power. Okay, the sixth law, the law of detachment. When you experience uncertainty, you are on the right path. Don't give it up. You don't need to have a complete and rigid idea of what you'll be doing next or next year, because if you have a very clear idea of what's going to happen and you get rigidly attached to it, then you shut out a whole range of possibilities. That's the direct quote out of the book. And we talk about this. I think we just talked about this with our affirmation results. Is what I found is that I was too focused on, and I think I'm going to be talking about this in a second. I'm going to be talking about symbols. Too focused on symbols and not on self. I was stuck in object referral, and I'm not all the way in self referral yet. I have so much conditioning to get out of my brain and to dig in deeper. And now, after reading this book and after doing the affirmation challenge, it's becoming more clear to me the layers I have to go through to get to what I actually want to manifest. And it's not things, it's not symbols. But because I don't have the language yet, I don't have the knowledge yet, I keep getting tripped up on those things. And maybe listeners, maybe Nicole, you're there with me, that every now and then we write something and we want to manifest something, and it's not quite right. And the lesson that we get through our affirmation challenge or through our meditation is that we have to refine it. We have to reframe it. We have to change it. And we
Yeah.
have to let go of our attachment to that original thought, that
Mm-hmm.
original goal, that's not actually it. Is what I don't want is a house. What I want is security. But is that even it? Is it even security? Or is it something even deeper than that?
Mm-hmm. And I love how shortly after that little bit that you read, it says, with uncertainty factored in, you might change direction in any moment if you find a higher ideal or if you find something more exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of the times when I'm attached to the outcome, there's an underlying belief that I know that that's the best outcome. But how can I know that when there's this field of unlimited
Mm-hmm.
possibilities, this field of pure potential? So I think sometimes for me, I get attached to the outcome because I'm afraid of uncertainty, because uncertainty is like bad and scary.
Yep.
But uncertainty can also be better and more wonderful and more exciting and a higher ideal. And I think for me, I forget
Mm-hmm.
that uncertainty doesn't mean bad, it can mean better.
Mm-hmm. That that's exactly it. That uncertainty is not a bad word or
Mm-hmm.
bad place to be. It's a place of power. It's a place of
Mm-hmm.
potential. And to talk about detachment, so attachment is based on fear and insecurity. And when we're in this place of fear and insecurity, we're focusing on symbols and not self with the capital S. The self is the true source of our abundance. That is the true source of the flow of currency and flow of affluence and flow of manifestation. Symbols are houses, cars, banknotes, bank accounts, clothes, vacations. Those are things. And sometimes we think we want things because we don't quite know yet that we want what's behind the things. And that's okay. I mean, I'm there. I'm taking steps to get past symbols. But when I read that today, I was like, he wrote that for me today. This conversation about symbols. So, and symbols are transitory, they're fleeting. Attachment is always to symbols and the known. And that attachment to security and the known, that comes from our past. That comes from past conditioning. All that information that's been filled into my brain by my careers and my family, jobs, friends, social media, the news, that is where attachments come from, the past. And we can't live in the past, and we can't apply the past to the present, and we can't apply the past to the future. So that's me. I read that chapter today, and I was like, oh, I needed to read that today. Absolutely. So it's not even just about like using symbols as what I'm trying to manifest, my goals, but now I see digging deeper and focusing more on what things are going to feel like,
Mm-hmm.
not what they're going to, you know what I'm saying? Like, what is it like when I have my ultimate goal of freedom? What does that feel like? Not what do I have, but how do I feel?
Yes.
And that's where I start taking steps. When I feel secure or I feel free, what is that? What does that mean?
When I have my camper van, I'll feel free.
That's it.
But
So it's
if I
like,
want the camper van, I focus on the feeling and not
yeah,
manifesting the thing.
yeah,
It's the feeling of freedom.
freedom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then the camper van just becomes a tool of it, not the symbol of it. Not like that. I have to have the yeah. Anyway, listeners, you're tracking. You know what we're trying to say. we're processing this information right along with you as we're talking about it. But another quote from the book: "The law of detachment accelerates evolution. You won't force solutions. You aren't afraid of uncertainty. Opportunities arise, and then you're open to possibilities. And you know what that feels like? Good luck. He
Mm-hmm.
writes about luck in that chapter. And I was like, oh my goodness, I needed this book right now. So that's it. When you're detached, you are open. And then opportunities arise and you see possibilities that you didn't see before because you're not focused on a symbol. You're not focused on the past. That's detachment. Huh.
Yeah, I love that. So the seventh law, the final law of success, is the law of dharma, or purpose in life. And I think most people are familiar with the concept of dharma and this idea that we have a purpose or a gift or a special talent. And he kind of takes it one step further, and it's a special talent that no one else has because we have a certain expression of that unique talent. And so this chapter encourages readers to consider, what are my unique talents? What can I do? What is a talent that I have that no one else has? Or what is an expression of that talent that nobody else has? And then the other question to consider is, how can I serve humanity? How can I be helpful? And in answering those two questions, you begin to formulate your purpose or your dharma. And I don't know why I wrote this down, so I'm just going to read it and then maybe I'll remember why I wrote it down. While meditation is the most useful way of entering the domain of spirit, simply shifting your internal dialogue to how can I help will also access the spirit, that domain of your awareness where you experience your universality. University, you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when we start to consider, why are we here? How can I help? There is sort of this sense of like your vibration lifting, your consciousness kind of lifting, because you're thinking about other people and you are connecting into the network of the collective. And I think that's why I wrote this down. Meditation has so many benefits, but that is one way we can connect into and answer the questions of, how am I best able to serve other people and help using my unique talents and expressions.
I don't know who was the first person to pose this question, that if money was no concern and you had all the time and money in the world, what would you do? And that is in this book. Journal that question. Meditate on that question. And there's no if and what if your answer is I would do nothing? Well, that's fine. What does nothing mean to you? That some of us don't even know what we would do if we didn't have to do all the things.
It's sort of like removing the layers. What would your little self, your younger self, want to do for hours and hours and get absolutely lost in? And sometimes it gets so buried and you have to remove some layers
Mm-hmm.
to reconnect with that thing that you loved, that thing you would do for
Yeah,
free.
because there's always something there. We're just too tired, overworked, overstimulated that we don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
We have to reconnect with that self, with ourselves. That's another thing that this book is about, that radical self inventory. Lots of questions to ask yourself in this tiny little book about what you want, what you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of journaling prompts in here. So
Yes.
it's fantastic. I'm so glad that you suggested we do our book club, our book report.
Yeah, I didn't expect this when I suggested it, but it's tied into all of the themes that season one of this podcast has touched on. So as we're getting closer to the end of season 1, it worked out. It just fit in.
It was perfect. I needed to revisit that book. Or as far as I was concerned, that was the first time I read it. It is a quick read, and it's a beautiful reference too. It's a good book to refer back to and to write your notes in it and to mark it up and to travel with it and to take, it's an easy little book to go back to when you're looking for inspiration.
Yeah. And like I said, I think I'm going to read the little 3 action items on rotation every day for maybe the next month, so they kind of really settle in to my mind.
Okay. Messages from the universe.
Yay.
I've got my deck right here. I'm using the Sacred She Tarot by Mahadeva Padma. I love this deck. It's a reimagining of the classic tarot, and the cards are absolutely beautiful. We'll post pictures. And I've got 3 cards. So pick A, B, or C. Card A, disappointment. Self-recrimination or fault-finding does nothing to change the pain of disappointment. No joy comes from blaming life, fate, the moon, or yourself, because the root cause lies hidden within emotional contracts that keep you from contentment. Become aware of the ingrained self-defeating habits that undermine your satisfaction and self-worth. Dig deep to unearth old attitudes and beliefs about yourself that continue to trip you up and thereby set the stage for disappointment. Drop anyone who sucks your energy by denigrating, devaluing, intimidating, or manipulating you. Taking charge of your well-being requires that you be honest with yourself and others regarding who you genuinely feel comfortable with. Empowered self-respect will help put an end to being unfairly treated or believing you're a victim of circumstance. Emotions are our internal weather. Your emotional barometer will reveal any warming or cooling trends. Like a forecaster anticipating stormy weather, notice when turbulence darkens your horizon. Instead of waiting around for the sun to return, relax into the nothing is happening yet gap and prepare for brighter days to come. It is up to you to bring about what soothes your soul. If you've been hoping for flowers, plant a garden. Decide that you deserve joy, friendship, self-esteem, and make the changes necessary to achieve those ends. The longing to finally shake off a cloak of sadness should be tended to with determination that must come from you. You are not a victim, and life owes you nothing. Seize the day. It's yours for the making. And this card is classically the 5 of Cups. Card B, rest. This is a call to recharge your batteries. Existence is telling you to take a break and stop feeling compelled to fill every waking moment. A timely withdrawal is long overdue and essential for restoring balance. Think of it as a backup for your well-being. Pushing the pause button on work pressures and your daily routine is just as important as keeping appointments and maintaining a schedule. Rarely, if ever, do we prioritize the need for recouping the joy of being alive. Relaxation is an act of kindness you can give yourself, and you don't have to go anywhere to experience it. Make a sincere commitment to put your feet up by telling others that you're taking it easy. No phone calls, emails, or visits until further notice. Unplug yourself. Create a space to sit quietly and comfortably. Close your eyes. Feel the rhythm of your breath moving in and out. Look within, review the routines that drive you, and let them go like clouds drifting across the sky. This meditation offers the experience of your inner world, a calming place to return to whenever you feel the need or drawn to do so. This card is the 4 of Swords. Card C, flow. Be quiet, listen, and feel the flow of life subtly moving within and around you. You are not the cause of it, but it is the stirring energy like a water course moves within and throughout everything. It is fluid, lyrical, free. We cannot contain it, but it contains all. Oppose the flow, and life feels antagonistic, threatening our plans and desires that may be driving an exhausting need to force or redirect what's happening for personal gain. It's a defensiveness that strains against the encroaching tide of reality, which always ebbs and flows. Going with the flow is a receptive and attentive attitude that releases preconceptions and enables a conscious partnering with life as it is right now. Living in sync with life's variable rhythms, we will learn the art of navigating the current while discovering more about ourselves and the nature of nature in the process. We participate in a shared experience that is energizing, inspiring, and beneficial to our overall well-being. Meditation returns us to this moment, releases us from rehashing the past or stressing about the future. By turning attention inward, we fine-tune the sensitivity that observes, impartially listens attentively, and nourishes the trust that is our inner strength. That's the Ace of Cups. Universe, with some inspiring messages there.
Yeah, those were very applicable.
Now, you know what is funny, and I don't know when you draw the cards when you read, but I got these cards ready after I read the book, but I didn't read the card. I just pulled 3 cards and put them inside the guidebook, and then I set them down. Then, listeners, we do the podcast, and then we read these cards, and we're like, what the?
Yeah.
What? Disappointment, rest, and flow? That's just what we talked about.
Yeah. It's pretty great.
Mm-hmm. The universe
knows. And I think next week we are back with Cancer, the zodiac sign Cancer. So
the crab.
Yeah. I'm excited for that. And until next time, listeners, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We love you.
Take care. Be safe. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Radical. The Radical is written and produced by Nicole and Christina.
Listener questions can be emailed to us at theradicalpodnc@gmail.com.
Our Instagram is The Radical Pod.
Music by Van Horton. His Instagram is Van Horton Music.